It's showtime. Welcome to another episode of Marketing Made Easy. My name is Joey Ragona. Good to see you. And thank you for being here. And we are going to get right into things. We're going to talk today about the long and short game of marketing, or I should say about building your business. And this one's going to be a really good one because I've been talking to a lot of people about this over the last week or so. I thought this would be a great topic to talk about today with my buddy Scott. And hopefully he's back in the green room, which he is. And let me bring him in. And there he is, man, Scott, always on time. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, thank you, Joseph. And yourself?
Very cool. Nice shirt, man, by the way.
Why, thank you. I decided it was an orangish day.
What does it stand for? Does the saying on it?
Chaos.
Chaos.
That's what It says underneath it, but I don't know what any of it means.
Love it, man. By the way, if you're here live with us, let us know you're here just by giving us a thumbs up or maybe a heart. Let Facebook, YouTube, whatever it is, know that we are doing an awesome job. And it just broadcasts out to more people to reach more entrepreneurs, more heart-centered entrepreneurs. And if you can, and do us a favor and just click on that link above that gives permission to StreamYard for us to know who you are when you do comment. We'd love to know who you are, so please do that so I can know who you are, because otherwise I just see like unknown name or something like that. And with that note, join in the conversation because we'd love to hear from you, your comments, your thoughts, your experiences. We love to learn from you. Scott and I, it's just not a conversation just between us two. It's about you. So Scott, today we're talking about the long and short game, building the business. And I thought this was a great idea to talk about today. One, because I think I know where you stand with this, but I won't put any words in your mouth because I know that what you've been doing in the last, year or so with fast video creator and all this other stuff. And I just figured that we would talk about this because there's a whole concept behind, where do we go with the business? And what is the best route? Is it the short game? Is it the long game? Hey, Susan, nice to see you. Monica, good to see you. Thanks so much. Checking the StreamYard. Now we do see the name. Thank you so much. There you go. Perfect. There you go. And Susan, good to see you. Thank you. And everybody else here, thank you so much for being here. And thank you for the love. So, Scott, what do you think? What are your thoughts on the long game and the short game overall? And then we'll get into some details.
Well, I know, Joey, that you're all about the long game. And
right.
You talk about it, especially when you first start working with anybody. You ask them how long could they survive. Going with Dean Jackson's, how long could you sit on your couch without having to do anything? And it goes to that is what happens if you just fall into I'm going to get rich online. And because you looked at something or you took a course or you went through somebody's anything, course, program, training. And it was like, all you got to do is this, and this, and this, and this, and do these things and those things. And you're going to start making money pretty much immediately. Well, that's not the reality of it because there's so much that has to happen before you can just make money. And I think a lot of people have this false expectation of what the internet is capable of doing. And of course, you look at these videos and these promotions and these slick people who you're pixeled somehow, or you're on Facebook, or you're on YouTube, or you're on a website, and somebody's ad comes up and it's like, I'm going to show you how to make money online in the next 3 days, even if you don't have a product or don't have anything and don't know anything about turning on a computer. And you're like, that's me. And you go click on it and they're like this and give me some money, and you're into their funnel. And Jose did this and Sylvia did this and made all this money, and you can too. And the testimonials, and it's like, wow, I can actually do this. And before you know it, you're down that path and it doesn't work. And you go, it must work, but I'm doing something wrong. And you go to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And months down the road or years down the road, you're still chasing.
Well, that is if they stick with it. Like a lot of those people don't even stick with it. That first failure, they're bailing. like those are the biz op peeps, right? They're like, this was supposed to work, and I've hit the dip, and I'm out. So
that's a big thing. So the long and the short game is, I think that there's so much on the short game, and it's been forever, Joey. It doesn't.
oh yeah, for
Way
sure.
back when, in the Wild West days of the internet, it was the same thing. Buy this thing and click, 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 and instant sales letters from Yannick Silver comes to mind, and that was 20 years ago or something when he first. And it was just, nothing's changed. It's just so many more people have come online, and so many more people have the dream of getting rich online and having the boats and the cars and the this and the that, or whatever it is that they want at the end of the day. The desire, like we talked about last week. And by the way, that was a powerful episode last week, Joey.
It was.
It just, because jumping back to that for a second, we had a conversation afterwards that we probably should have had, online when we were on, but sometimes some of our conversations happen after the fact. But going back to the long and the short game, I don't think is real. And if it is, it's just going to be the short game, because people, your club, your members, your family, your avatar, your tribe, whatever you want to call them, will tire fast of the short game, because they're going to learn quickly that that's what you're about, is the short game.
So you're about the long game then as well?
Well, like you said, Joey, I've been a year now. I just realized it. My domain comes up for renewal in a month, a Fast Video Creator. Now, I started Be a Video Pro probably 7 months before that, and I was building that, and I was going to give it away to somebody. I didn't really even want it. I was just helping somebody. I was going to build it and give it away. Then I got involved in this whole software piece, and it was my opportunity to play with something that I love to do, marketing and video, and combine.
So, let me stop you there for a second. Did you go into that project with a short game mindset? And then, no. Okay, so explain that. That's what I want people to understand.
So
and it's okay if you did, because I know it's a long game now for you.
Well, last May, June, my current partner in this company, he came to me and wanted my marketing help to get he had been in a bad relationship with some guys and things didn't work out. And he came to me, then we were going to put out this little app, just a little tiny app that did a few things. And we were going to get it out in a few months, which I'm not going to say is the long game, but it really wasn't the short game. I knew it was going to take us some time, months, to get it done. And as we moved into it, the realization was, to do it the right way, it was going to take a longer time. We didn't think it was going to take a year, which is what it's been. We thought maybe it would be 3, 4, 5, 6 months. But we knew that it was going to take a while. And in between, as we were growing it, we actually made some offers and we created some products. And because it became about the long game, we were able to build a much bigger, stronger foundation than if it was the short game and we threw out a quick video app that would have just enabled people to do a few things. I looked at it and said, this thing is bigger than a little thing. If I just wanted a little thing, I would have gone the short game. I realized at the end that it was bigger than the short game. And if you want to build something that's going, I call it a legacy brand, because this brand I'm building for not me, but for my legacy, for my future, for others, and to do.
Okay, but when did you realize that piece of it? Was it from day one?
No.
Okay.
It wasn't. Day one was probably the medium game.
Right. That's what I was just going to see. You took the words right out of my mouth, man.
I know.
So it was like
job here. It's on the script.
it's like we have it scripted here, right?
Here on the script.
No, but that's true. Like I was going to say that it was kind of like a medium game for you then. It wasn't like, let's make a whole bunch of money fast right now and or that the first thing didn't work and you were out or whatever it was, but it's more like a medium game. And now it's become more of a long game for you. And I think this has to do a lot with your natural multiplier mind.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, I've had brands in the past. I've built brands from the ground up for other people. I've had my own. I built courses. I built programs that were the short game. I built the perfect pitch, the 18-step secret selling system based on Perry Belcher's 21-step secret selling system. And the goal was to get that thing built as fast as I could. And I had 12 copy tests, and I had like 4 or 5 or 6 other products, was to get it built and get it launched out there. And that was kind of a shorter game. And I did it, but I realized it just wasn't what I was in love with at the time. When this came on, it was a medium game. And now, once I got into it, the medium game was this, and now it became a longer game. And here's kind of when it became a longer game. When we hired our branding agency, we hired a branding marketing agency to help put the brand look and feel together. And actually, I told them that I wanted the brand voice to be fun, fast, whimsical, and professional. And I had given them an 18-step sales letter, which was what the industry has been using, especially the others in our field. He came back to me and delivered what I asked for. Let me rephrase that. He delivered what I wanted, not what I asked for. He delivered a professional-looking brand, imagery, website that looked like a professional quality software company, not a cheesy VSL, this, that's all over the place. That's when it kind of became the long game, because my middle game was, let's get out there like the others and let's create the sales letter and the 18 steps and this whole long thing. It then became, you know what, this is a software company. And a software company is not a short game. It's a long game. So It started as a medium game and it ended up as a long game. Have I done the short game? Yes. Do I launch products on a regular basis that are a short game? Yeah, but it's part of the long game, if that makes any sense.
Well, yeah, it makes a whole lot of sense because it's part of the longer strategy. And that's really what I want to get through on this broadcast, at least, where my mindset is going, because it's so much about the short game I see. And it's unfortunate because if you focus on the short game all the time, it just destroys the future business. I've seen it happen over and over again because it's you're pivoting so many different ways, and you're giving up on when you're not focused on one thing and you're always trying to make the quick thing. You're losing your audiences. You're losing your dream clients. You can't build up that relationship because people don't know what you stand for. It's always about the short thing over and over and over again. And usually those are different ideas and different paths. If you have it combined where it's a strategic commitment to the longer game, that I want to, whatever it is, change the world or whatever it is you're doing, and that makes a lot more sense rather than just these small, spurts of just how do I make a whole bunch of money here and make it all about that money. I think for us, it's all about how do I create an impact, even if there are shorter launches or whatever you want to call these things that are a combination is packed inside the longer game, right?
Right.
Answer this what Monica's saying here before we move on. I often wonder with the shiny object syndromes, things, testimonials where people say they had 1,500 people going through the masterclass, but can only come up with 3 testimonials where it actually worked. I'm not sure if that's in context to what we're talking about. Does it?
So I think what she's saying, here is when somebody says the 1,500 people went through this thing, this master class, and there's only 3 testimonials where it actually worked.
Oh,
that's the short game. That's where somebody goes, oh my God, look at that amazing testimonials. And I read a lot of websites, and I
Oh, so
look
you were saying
at,
that that was at the start. Okay.
yeah, and I look at I look at a lot of those testimonials, and you can tell when a testimonial's crap, and it's the short game, because it's like, oh, this is probably going to be the greatest thing, and I think it's really good. That's not a testimonial, but
Well, if you were okay, so let me ask you this: if you were starting a business tomorrow, what would you do? Like, would you put the time and effort into kind of, and I got to be careful when I say this because I know when we talk about strategy or looking forward or goal setting or whatever you want to call it, that there are the analytical people or people that want to get it right from the start before they actually do anything. And that holds them back for years and years and years. They don't do anything. So I want to be very careful when I ask you, when you sit down pen to paper and just jot down some ideas of like, you know what, here's what I'm going to do. That's strategizing, but it's also gives you, I know you, so it gives you that you still have all that flexibility of this can go anywhere, but this is kind of where I'm going. What does that look like?
well, that looks like my whiteboards, and what I do is I lay the whole thing out, and I look at it, and then I talk to people about it, and I see if it's going to be real, if this can actually be accomplished. Can I build it? What's it going to be? What's the journey? What's going to happen every step of the way? It's not like, okay, I got an idea and let's get it out next week. It's got to be researched. You got to look at the competition. I got to look at the top 10 or 20 websites and look at their keywords and analyze them. Why are they coming up? What are they doing in the top 10? What made them get there? I'm going to go look at their ads. I'm going to look at who's.
Well, hold on, hang on a second. That's getting into the details of of that. Like, I want the overall picture, the bigger picture of like when you sit down, for example. So when I sat down years ago and said I want to do a coaching, I want to coach people, and this is what it kind of looks like to me, where it was very simple. I'm going to show up. I'm just going to bring my brain, and I'm just going to coach people, and that's going to be it. I didn't go into the details of like, all the other stuff. It was just like, this is what it looks like. I have no idea how I'm going to get there, but it was still the long game. It was like, okay, if this doesn't work, which I didn't even think back then, like if this doesn't work, I'm going to keep going. That wasn't even in my mind because I'm naturally just a long-term guy. Right. So I never even have that block in my head because I know that most times it's not going to sit. So that's what I'm asking you is, what's the overall bigger picture when you sit down? Do you look at, I want to go here, or do you say, I'm going to start this video company, and next week I'm going to do this launch, and I'm going to make like $10,000? Like,
No. So
okay,
we've kind of had this conversation in other foundational chats over the months, and it's the mission statement, the vision statement, the exit strategy. And it's about the vision statement. It's about the exit strategy is, what do I want to build this to be? We talked about, do I build it as a brand or do I build it as me? And that's what I got to look at first is, what is the vision of this? Why are we building it? What's the purpose of it? It goes to the heart centered of it all. It goes to, am I building this thing just to make money? No, I'm building this so that I can give people a way to accomplish what they need to do. Same, right. You do what you do. Right. And you look at building a business from what it's going to do for your tribe, audience, etc. Then it's got to be a long game, because you can't do that. The short game is all about money. The long game is all about serving.
Right. So, okay, so then it comes back to the debate of always like, well, I still need money, and if I can't wait this long to get money coming in and all this other stuff, and that's all true because we all have bills to pay and everything else. And like I've said before, that a heart-centered entrepreneur, mission-driven entrepreneur, all of us that's in the tribe, we need more money than somebody who is only profit money driven. The people that I want to make a whole bunch of money and buy Lamborghinis and whatever it is, fine. But we need actually more money than you do because we need to fund the mission. If it's about the mission, then It's not about the short games. It's about the long game. And that's really what I'm trying to stress here. What's most important. And I think it really comes down to this, that I see a lot of short game players and they're stressed. Like, because they're only focused on whatever that outcome is for the 2 weeks, the 3 month thingy or whatever it is, and it's not working, and they're bouncing all over the place and they're not focused, which means that they're stressed. Like, they're just they're and that's why they bounce around to all these things, because it's not working, which it's normal that it doesn't work, right? It's rare that you're going to hit it out of the park. You get in the up to bat and hit, and it's going to go out of the park. And even if you did, can you do it again? Like, can you do it the next up to bat? So for me, what I like to do is look at, you know what, if this guy's telling me it's going to take me a 90 days or 6 months to do this, to be whatever you're telling me, then I always give myself extra time. So you know what? Because I don't want to be under that deadline pressure. I don't want to have that on my brain. I want to be able to say, there is more than likely a high chance that something's not going to work out. And I do not want to get to that point at 6 months or whatever that person said, and it didn't work, that I'm saying, you see, this didn't work and I'm a failure and I'm beating myself up over it. So by allowing space for the long game to happen, it allows you to adapt and adjust your business to whatever the conditions are. Who knew of COVID, right? Who knew 2 years ago? So if you were playing the short game then, it's like, you are like way overstressed, I should say, right?
Yeah.
You can't adapt. But if you're playing the long game and like, oh, okay, well, this is kind of another snag. It kind of sucks, but let me just go do this.
So going back to your question, I'll spend weeks mapping things out, and I'll meet with my team and we'll look at everything, and we'll continue to look at it and say,
is that your computer or is that mine making all those dings?
My apology, that's Kajabi.
Okay. I thought it was something on this end here, man. Cool. Oh. So, okay, you're spending weeks doing your mapping out.
So before I had my whiteboards in the office, I had paper wrapped in my offices, and we would map things out and think that that's what we were going to do. Long ago, we developed what we thought this was going to look like.
Right.
And it was a long game, and I knew it was going to take a long time to accomplish. And I've showed you on a piece of paper that was part of that map. Was I didn't know a piece of it, which was we needed these scene creators, these scene designers. And I just put it out there. Who's going to do this? Not what. Who goes to that book. It's the who, not the what. And I knew it wasn't going to happen tomorrow. And when we first started designing the software, we didn't have but a couple of scenes that were kind of childish and amateurish. Over time, from our alphas, from our betas, we ended up finding these people. And had it been the short game, we would have launched a piece of software that would not have been that amazing.
Right,
as opposed to time. And I'm familiar with the short game, Joey. I've talked to you about a desperation funnel I did years ago. Like years ago, I ran out of money. Things didn't work out. I had some things go on, and I was like, what am I going to do? And I hired a coach who I shouldn't have. I leveraged my credit cards, and I had a desperation funnel. I created something that I had no right creating because nobody wanted it. Nobody cared about it. But I so desperately needed to make money.
Well, that's a different situation too, right? I mean, it got you out of the hole, right?
It didn't work.
Oh, it didn't work. Okay.
It flopped. What I'm saying is because it wasn't well thought out. It wasn't planned. It wasn't a medium game. or long game. It was, I have to make money today.
Yeah, see, so you're bringing up a huge point, which is what I really want to stress here, because I see this, that the short game to me is exactly what you just said. There are people who go through desperation funnel, and they don't know that's actually what they're doing. But it's a desperation funnel, and it never works, and never works, never works. And it's always like the next one, the next one, and the next one. If they stay in it, for a period of time, which is rare as it always is. But what you just said is what I'm trying to stress, that's what destroys the future. It destroys the future, the current person. Like, being under all that stress and deadline and thinking I've got to make this money in 90 days or something, that's a hard life to live, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's really, really tough. Right. And I love this, Netta. Thank you for bringing this up. I love this. You have a goal for 2025, and that's awesome. And you don't know what you'll be doing tomorrow. Like, you are going into this and saying, I've got this much time to do this. It doesn't mean you're lazy. It doesn't mean you procrastinate. It means like you're adapting. You're going in and saying, I'm going to go do this tomorrow. Let's see what happens. Let's read the data and let's keep going. And that gives you and I love people like you. And I've told you this personally too. I said, you know what? You're awesome because you don't have this stress of this deadline behind you. Even if you do a launch or something tomorrow and say, I'm going to try and do this. And if it doesn't work, you're like, well, that didn't work. And let me see what happened. And let me adjust the things that didn't work. You agree, Scott?
No, I totally agree. Again, when I build anything, a company, a brand, a funnel, architecting, whether I work with somebody, whether it's a client, whether it's a coaching situation, consulting, it's what's the vision? Where do you want to get to?
Right.
And how are we going to get there? And if anybody thinks they're going to get there in 30 days, that's unrealistic. I was on with somebody today who I've been engaging with for years now. And I've gotten them from a $39 a month thing. And now they're finally listening, and they're going to launch a $3,000 to $5,000 offer. And I was like, okay, you want some copy for this? It's going to take some time. They've learned that it's not going to be, I need the copy tomorrow because we got to launch next week.
Right.
It's going to be a little while to get it written, and then you got to build the funnel, and then you got to build the webinar, and it takes time. And I think one of the most important pieces here too, Joey, is no matter how long you think it's going to take twice as long. For sure.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's a totally great point. And I think, with me, that's one of the big things that I look at as well when I'm talking to anybody and asking what their vision is and what's the plan for the future and all that. I still ask for short-term goals. Say, what do we want to do in 90 days? What's the goals? But I'm always looking at that long-term, what are they looking for? And I won't work with anybody who's looking for the immediate win. If you want a short win that moves you towards a bigger win, that's a little bit of a different story, right? But when you're looking at, no, dude, I got to get this thing running and I'm not in.
There's a lot of advice out there, Joey, that I've seen in different groups that says, well, put the offer out there before you've built it. Or, you don't have to have it done yet. Put it out there already. There's two sides to that. If you know what you know, if you know your audience, if you know what they desperately need and how you can help them get there, then it might make sense. But just to say, okay, I'm just going to throw something out there without doing the foundational work. It's like a lot of people want to decorate the penthouse and they haven't even poured the foundation yet.
Well, yeah, now you're talking my world, because my world is all about doing the betas and stuff, throwing it out there without having anything built. However, to your point, I know my market inside and out. I know them better than they know themselves because I've put in the time and effort to learn about them, and I don't stop. It's like I don't go in, and if I'm going to put out a product or a beta or whatever it is, without asking them right then and there, hey, what is it that you need help with right now in your life? And the data comes back and I'm like, yep, I can help with that. Let me put this thing together. And go with what they're asking for, right? It's simple, 101. But you're right. There's a lot of people who they will put a template together and fill in the template with stuff, and then they run a Facebook traffic ad, and they'll go, "I didn't make any sales, man."
Yeah.
Like, what's going? Did you do any market research? Well, no. I know I want. Here's what I hear a lot of. I want to teach people this thing, and I've got this awesome looking sales page, and I ran traffic to it. Why isn't anybody selling? You want to sell the thing. You think that you're teaching them something. Do you know that they want that? Like, you need to go into the market and say, what do you need help with? And then you build it. And so you're right. Like, that's the wrong way around it. It's like, don't throw just something out there if you don't know what the market wants. And that's where the long game is. The long game is in, how do I serve the market? And that's why we always talk about people first, right? If you're not people first, you really don't care. And I've met a lot of those people too, right? It's like, yeah, I care about this and that. And really, because you don't want to put any time and effort into doing anything to find out about the market. You just want to throw up an ad and make money.
Yesterday I spent, and don't take this the wrong way. I'm the CEO of my company, okay? I am the puppet master. I run everybody and keep everything going, because that's what a multiplier does, and that's what a type A control freak does, is you control everything to the end game for everybody's benefit. Yesterday, I was on with a guy in Europe for 40 minutes trying to help him get the software going so that I could teach him how to create one video that he could sell to make a little money, to help a local business, and then teach him how to do it again every month and get a recurring income.
Okay.
He's a free user of my software.
Yeah, okay.
He's never given me a penny, but it had nothing to do with that. He needed help. And it's different than when I used to go help people for free in a Zoom room. I can help people for free with my software. That's allowable. I learned more about my avatar.
Right, of course.
I know that when people join our coaching training program, I'm getting the language down, my coaching and training program, that I'm going to help them do that because I know that's what they want to do. And it's because it's the long game. It's because we did our beta launch in September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. 7 months ago, we did our beta launch. We're the 25th version of our beta, and we're about to go public in the next few weeks. We're finally at that point, but there were so many things that had to be done and still need to be done. And
right. Go ahead. Keep going.
Netisaid podcasting is the long game. It is. What you and I do on Tuesday nights is a long game.
Well, we were just talking before about the Facebook group, right? Yeah. And so the Facebook group was a long game, or it still is a long game. And that's part of the long game for me. And you know that because it was never about, so anybody watching, so like, if you've been watching me grow in the Facebook group, it's not because I'm the master Facebook group guy or whatever. It was always about building the tribe. That's what it was about. It was about the tribe itself and truly helping people, right? And it had nothing really to do about how am I going to leverage this Facebook group and make a whole bunch of money. It wasn't about that because, as you know, we purge the group. We don't bring it to thousands of people and throw offers in every single week, whatever. We don't do that. And so the Facebook group was a long-term play. And we were just talking about that it took whatever it was, a year, 2 years of just you and me just chatting inside the Facebook group, right? And now the tribe is awesome.
Well, that's an excellent example of that. A couple of years ago, when you started the group and I started in the group with you, and we started, what is this, episode 60 something?
This is, this is 63 or 64 or something like that.
Whatever it is, we started, you and I, chatting.
Yeah.
That was it. And there were a couple of people that would come in from time to time and say hi. That was about it. And over the course of well over a year plus, we built this to the point where it's now become a staple for a lot of people. We
And thank you
figured
for that, by
out
the way.
what's that?
And thank you for that, by the way. We love our regular listeners and welcome our new listeners, by the way.
And there was never, first of all, we didn't even really quote have a game. We
No.
didn't say, okay, let's do this Scott and Joey show, Joey and Scott show, the Joey show. This kept changing. It wasn't like, okay, here's the plan. We're going to do this thing, everything at that. And then at the end of this time, we're going to start making offers.
Yeah.
And then we're going to build a funnel.
And the calls to actions, where do we place those? How do we do?
Here, and this. And now, granted, throughout this, I've always we talk about what each of us are doing.
Sure.
Because relevant. It was never designed to be, because Right Marketing Copy was an umba that came at some point in one of our conversations where this and that, and you're like, and some of what I'm doing has come out of our conversations because we're always talking about it and we're reading all the time.
Well, yeah, we're going through. This is the cool part about what I think, my perspective of what we do, and is even when I talk to clients, it's like we're building the business, we're doing these things, and we're actually teaching and showing people what we're doing while we're doing it. And it's not like, hey, you're like way down there. I was there. I know what it feels like and everything else, but I'm way over here now. But let me teach you that. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. There's a place for that. But what we're doing is we're actually going through it. And so we're just like one step ahead. That's it. Say, hey, we just did this. And let me show you what we did. Here's how it screwed up. Here's how it was really great. Here's what we can improve, whatever. And I think that's really important to at least our tribe.
I totally agree, Joey, we are the long game. And each week it's like, okay, what did we read this week? What did we learn this week? What did we do this week? What did you do in your group this week? What did I do in my group this week? I have, Mondays, I do an accountability call. And each week I say, there's three things. I have a life purpose task that I'm going to accomplish that's towards my life purpose. And then I have two other tasks that I'm going to accomplish. And I've learned over doing that for 9 months now, every single week, same as we get together every single week, was that I can set forth what I'm going to do this week, and then reality sets in. And because I'm building something, it changes every single week. Like 6-8 weeks ago, I was like, okay, I'm going to build the sales pages, and I'm going to get this, and I'm going to get ready to launch. And then this thing that I had didn't work, and the affiliate thing wasn't working. So I got to change it. I got to go find something better. And then I realized that, okay, you know what? I don't have this piece in place. This piece has got to be in place. I had everything ready. And then I had a conversation the other day that was, you know what? There's one thing missing. We did not teach. I used this analogy, I think, with you the other day. If I said, okay, Joey, I'm taking this pen and I got to make a hole in the wall. And I took a hammer and I banged it into the wall, and then the pen didn't work anymore. And I'd be like, what happened? And you go, Scott, let's review. You're supposed to click this and the ink comes out of here to write.
Let's review.
And what I realized was, because we know so much, was we have to teach people in a detailed way how to consume what we've sold them or what they bought. And that's part of the long game, because I have a client whose biggest struggle is we've built his brand. He sells a lot of stuff, but people come in and they go, I can't find anything. I don't know where anything is. And you've kind of learned that a little bit here and there along the way. We're like, it's pretty simple. It's right there. Well, no, it's not pretty simple. It's not right there. And that's part of the long game, is teaching people to consume what you've just sold them, adding more value to what you've just given them, like you do, like we do, and saying, okay, like, Joey, that this is from you from a long time ago. They're going to get the software, and then every day for 30 days, I'm going to teach them something. I'm going to give them something more. I'm going to add, I'm going to pile on value, so that at the end of 30 days, they're either going to say, oh my God, I've really become good at this and it's helping me do what I need to do, or they're going to say, this isn't for me. And that's okay too.
For sure, yeah.
And that's the long game. Is a soap opera sequence, or whatever you want to call it, is not just looking at it and saying, okay, great, we're going to launch it, we're going to sell it, we're going to do upsell, good, next, let me sell them something else. Yeah, I'm going to do that. But at the same time, it's like, I know you need to learn these things. I'm going to teach them to you because you're already in. You talk about the gifts. And so gifts come before and after. So when somebody gets the software, look, I know you need to go find assets. I'm going to teach you how to go find them for free. I'll sell them to you, but I'll teach you find them free. I know you got to write scripts. I'm going to teach you 5 easy ways to write a script. I know you're going to have to learn this, this, and this. I'm going to go teach you. Oh, and I'm going to give you this. And if you want to buy the thing, you can do that too.
Yeah, I mean, you came up with a few different things there that I want to point out. And one is that even with let's go to a point where, you were creating the, what do they call it? The videos. What are I lost my train of thought there. The instructional videos for your software, right? So from what I remember, you thought it was going to take a couple of days or whatever it was, maybe a week or something, but it took you longer to do them, only because you had to do them right. And right, that was what it's all about.
Yeah.
Now, had you been under like a major stress deadline, you would have probably really been under a lot of stress and freaked out that, hey, this was only supposed to take me, I allocated 2 days or whatever, 3 days in this, and either not, well, you wouldn't have, but maybe, well, I'm just going to do them, whatever it is, and they're just going to get done because I've got this deadline over here and I'm just going to get them out, whatever. And they're just going to be the way that they be, right? Where you, by not having the deadline, even though there is a goal and there's a date in place, but it's flexible, right? And it's like, well, this is the long game, man. If I don't do these things right, then it's going to affect, right, what I just said, in the future. It's going to affect the future of the software, of the business, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to really stress and zone in on, that everybody understands this, that, look, it's cool. There's nothing wrong with deadlines. I'm not against deadlines or having a goal or whatever. That's all cool. But it's when you live like that every single day that is completely, it baffles my mind. Like, I remember, I used to be there. I get it, but it's now where they have access to people like us, right, who are helping them, saying, look, we were there, and we sometimes we're right there, and the information or the people that care are way more accessible than it ever used to be. You just got to know where to look for it, right? And people that truly care about your business, about bringing you forward and about helping you in the guidance and all this, rather than getting down all these other rabbit holes of people just trying to sell you something that is a promise that you want to hear. So yeah, if I buy your course, I'm going to be able to do this in 10 days. That's awesome. Let me go do that. Right. And that doesn't work, right? And then you're under more pressure and under more pressure. And then you spend all this money doing all these things. Now I'm going down a whole other different tangent here, but.
So let me go off one of your other tangents.
Okay.
You were referring to, I thought I could bang out my tutorials in a day.
Tutorials, that was the word. Yeah, in a day. Okay, a day.
First, it was a day, Joey. Because
I even gave you a couple of days, and it was okay.
Thank you for being generous. Years ago, I did a course, and it was 247 videos on how to use a piece of software that wasn't mine, and it took me 6 months. And I was like, I could knock this out in a day. And then I was like, okay, it's going to take me 2 days. Well, it took me 11 days to record the 40. And then the realization the other day was there was two more I had to do. The one which was probably the most important one was if somebody bought the pen and thought that they could use it to knock holes in the wall, they would have been very unhappy because they broke it and it didn't do what they thought.
Right.
To create that one. And then as you and I found out this week, I had all my tutorials, and I said, Joey, and I was in a group call with you in our mastermind, and I was like, hey guys, how do I present my stuff? And one of our members like, use this thing. And I was like, holy crap. You and I spent a few hours figuring it out, and now I probably know that thing just as well as the developer of it. And I've customized it. I changed it again today. I spent hours because it's got to be right. Yeah. That's the long game. The short game is, you know what? Let me just throw the software out and you guys figure it out. And again, it's been a year. And to develop a piece of software ain't cheap.
Well, but that's about, going back to the betas, like how many betas you've had and these trial runs and all this is really important, because it's not only getting the software right and not just another video software thingy, but listening to the audience and even watching the audience go through your stuff and getting on calls or 20-minute or an hour call with somebody's computer who doesn't run the software or whatever, and you're like, I don't get it, like what's going on, right? And you're trying to fix all these issues in order to make it as best as possible in the future. And that's not a short game. That's like, let me try to get this as close to perfect as possible. And I want to be careful when I say this, because I don't want perfectionism to come into play here, because that's another big problem, right?
Yeah. And no, Joey, we're not putting out a perfect product. Windows is still trying to figure out its operating system.
Yeah, that's Bill doesn't get it, right?
Well, they put out a thing that would crash your whole computer, and the general protection fault, blue screen of death, and that was okay. Not that I'm saying I'm going to put something out, but I want to go back to what you just said. There was no, it's not perfectionism, but it's spending as much time as possible watching people engage with your product, your service, your message, whatever it is, and speaking with them. And if I need to go check out a collection that we're working on, I'll go find a few people that I know who are in the industry I'm in, because I've helped them, and say, we're thinking of doing this. What are your thoughts? Give me some feedback. I was on a call the other day with someone, and literally I said, I want you to go click on the top right. And I watched her mouse go over to the left side of the screen. And I was like, this wasn't a directional thing because Zoom or that. I was like, okay, up at the top left, can you see the red dot? I don't see a red dot. Okay, you're on a Mac. You know how you close a program? There's the red dot. Right below it is an arrow. You see, good. Now, go below it about 3 inches, and then they go down to the bottom of the page. And so in the tutorials, I was like, you see this icon here? That's the play button. If you want to play it, you click that. That's how detailed it had to be. Why? Because I've been on with people. That's why I'll get on with somebody who's having an issue or trouble, because I got to know what they're experiencing, because not everybody is the perfect avatar. We've talked about that. Just because I say, the avatar is this guy here, Bob Michaels, he's just one user. I have Beth, who's 20 years younger, who's in a whole different situation, who wants to get her message out to the world for what she does and wants to do it as fast and simple as possible. I didn't mention anything about my thing. I just know that that's what she wants. So when I go interact with her, and like, for example, somebody in my group was searching for something, and I'm actually on with you, and was like, okay, I reached out to 3 of my people and say, can anybody help her out? And one of them came back and said, I think I covered that in the thingy. And so I went and found the video and said, go watch this at 55 minutes. You'll find out. And then another one went into the group and said, I don't have anything, but I just created a rough tutorial for you.
Right.
So I just got like 4 different people involved to help a person that's giving me $10 a month.
Right.
It has nothing to do with that. It's the long game. And when I was in the hospitality,
well, you created also an asset. Sorry to interrupt, but you created an asset there as well for the future of the business, right? Those people created a video or whatever it was that you could use to show other people or reference, right? Okay.
Yeah. Years ago when I was in the hospitality industry, and this is an important lesson. Squeaky Tom was one of the captains in this upscale restaurant in South Florida. He was Squeaky Tom because he squeaked about everything. If I gave him too many tables, he complained. If I didn't give him enough tables, he complained. If I gave you a 4-top and him a 2-top, he'd complain that Joey got a 4-top. If I gave him a 6-top and I gave you a 2-top, he'd say, well, why do I have 6 people? That's too many, and Joey only has 2. Didn't matter. Squeaky Tom. One day, I remember I sat a 2-top, and their name was Breck. And he squeaked and moaned and that. And at the end of the night, they left him like a huge tip. It was Breck of Breck Shampoo. And what I like to say is I don't know who is walking in that door when I was in the hospitality industry. I don't know who this person is, who they know, who they have influence with. It's kind of like there's a story about how Bill Gates chose his caterer for a wedding. There was a friend somewhere at a wedding and picked up a business card and was a friend of Bill's and gave it to Bill or Melinda. And that's how it was just that 6 degrees of separation. I don't go to help people in hopes of, but it's part of the long game in my life. It's the heart-centered giving piece. Yeah. You know, we've talked about this early on when I was getting into the Kajabi world and really learned it and got good and said, hey, I know this platform and now I can apply my funnel architecting, copy conversion skills. Let me go help some peeps. And I'd get on the calls and I'd rewrite their copy and I'd help them with their funnels and blah, 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 with not asking anything in return. And we've had this conversation. Now I do it with people that are in my world. I just don't even have time to do it because there's so many pieces that we have to do. We talk about the 40-40-20. The 20 at a certain point in the beginning takes a lot of your time because you got to build everything. You got to build the foundation before we can go out there and build the penthouse.
Well, that's why I referenced at the beginning, like the Facebook group, right? For me was that way of saying, okay, this group is a long game because I saw the vision of that eventually there was not going to be enough time for me to continue doing what I am doing in the groups, right? Like, you know, I talk about the club marketing and all that, like the strategy behind of finding and connecting with dream clients. But eventually I knew that my time would run out, right? And the Facebook group was all about helping people because I get asked that question, not a lot, but enough, where it's like, where's the paid group? Like, where do we, and it's all in one, right? It doesn't matter. If you're in that group, you're in there so you can get help, whether you're paid or you're not paid. And so it was always about, you know, let me back up for a second because this relates to the people who want to help the world, right? It's like, well, they can't afford my $10,000 offer or $5,000, whatever it is. And I want to help all these other people who can't afford it. How do I do that? And that is how I envision, like you talk about vision, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, well, if I'm going to lose time over there in those groups or whatever, and I have my own group, then I could focus there and help all the people that are not even clients at that point. It's all good. So the vision was bigger. It was the long game. And yeah, maybe 1 or 2 of those people become clients and that's all good. But it wasn't about monetizing. It was about people first. And it's so important. It's how do I help the people, and where are the snags that I could see coming up in the future? And the snag is, because I talk about that all the time, where when you're starting a business, the only thing that you really have is time. And how you invest that time is totally up to you. And a lot of people invest that time the wrong way, by bouncing from one thing to another, trying to play the short game. Whereas if they played the long game and invested that time, then everything is easier later on in their business.
There's one thing that everybody should invest their time in. It's this.
Oh, thank you.
I've said this from when I first met you, Joey, and this is the Ragona emails. And anybody that is watching this this is all of Joey's emails
Thanks,
printed out. And yeah, I've got a stack over there of swipe files, lots of them. But this is one of the best ones. Why?
Thank you, man.
Because it's the long game, written by a man who cares, who writes emails that have value, designed to help people out, not just to say, okay, I'm writing 7-day email sequence and the cart's closing. So Monica saves all his emails.
Thank you, Monica.
We were joking that I could package that and sell it. And, Mr. X sells Joey Ragona's emails because there's so much value. We talk about your group and the long game, and because from the get-go you're all about heart-centered, and this is all about heart-centered, and that people now are learning, they're growing, they're building. When somebody comes into the group, if they're looking for, I got to make money this week, then they're in the wrong place.
Yeah, they don't last long anyway, man. No. Like they're out because it doesn't resonate with them. It's not that they're bad people or anything. It's just that we're a different tribe, we're a different group, right? And it's just that we can't serve them for what they're looking for.
And I understand, Joey, there's people that might be watching, and they're like, but I got to make money. I got to pay my bills. I get that. There was a time years ago where I so wanted this and I so loved this, and I had a huge thing going and it didn't work out. And I went and got a job as an executive chef because that's a skill set I have. And I would spend my 30 or 40 hours a week there and another 30, 40 hours a week building my brands and my businesses and doing the stuff I love until that took over and enabled me to stop doing that.
Right.
For anybody that's like, well, I have to make money. Yay, Petra. Put them in a Petra. Yeah. This stuff is golden. The knowledge that this man brings to the table. And I've read and I've known and I play with and I've hired some of the best out there in the industry. And that's why I come here Tuesday nights, because I want to.
You guys are too kind. Thank you.
Well, yeah, but it's the truth, Joey, because I could choose what I do with my time. And I choose on Tuesday nights to hang out with you and the group and the tribe and the club, because that's what this is about.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's truly an honor to have you and everybody here. It's great. And that's what I love about this, because it is about, and I've said this many times before, and I'll keep repeating it, that I was given that advice years ago and ignored it about, build the tribe. It's about the community. It's about all this. And I was in that area where you're saying, and I think we all get into that area where it's like, but I need to make money. I need to make money. Right. And the sad part about it is that, yes, there are outliers. We can easily find somebody that said, yeah, you know what? I turned on a funnel yesterday and bought a Lamborghini the next day. Right. There's always these stories. Okay. But is it reality? Is it the norm? No, it's not the norm. And the sad part about it is that because we're under pressure and under financial pressure, that's where the focus is. And there's people like you and I who have been through that, knowing that, you know what, if I was a betting man, I'd probably bet against that. It's going to work. Not that we're not positive about anything, but just reality. But the person in the moment doesn't want to believe it. And they're in that hope. And I feel bad for them. And if it could just invest the time, like you said, in building the long game, but doing this other thing that brings in a little bit of money that it may suck. They might not want to do that. That to me is how you sacrifice, the right way of sacrificing, rather than sacrificing the relationships that you could be building over time by playing the short game. And it doesn't work, and it doesn't work, and it doesn't work. And I am the poster boy for this, because that's what happened to me, at least in the last, well, not now, it's been 2 years since it's been awesome. So 3 years prior to that, and then maybe even before that. But those 3 years were like a struggle every day, right? And stress and crying and you name it. Like it was really bad. And
Joey, you've watched me on this journey for a year now. And
thank you, Monica.
When I began, I had clients, very high paying clients, to do what my team and I know how to do well.
Right.
And there came a point where I was like, okay, I need to spend more time on this than that. And I kind of gave it up. But you know what happens? There have been points of time in there when we haven't launched yet and we haven't brought in money. So, okay, I'm not going out and running a resort, but I'll go out and write some copy, which you and I can do fairly well because of what we've learned and we've done it so much. Or I'll go help with a funnel and then I'm good for a few months or whatever, and I'll come right back to it. And so it's the same thing when you start out. And I was down the same path. For years, I bought everything. Okay, this is the one. And I would study it and I would go through it and I would do everything they said and I would build it and I'd use the tools that they said and I'd do it and I'd launch the thing and then nothing. And you and I could sit here and make a list of, the top 25 gurus, and between you and I, we've probably bought all of their stuff.
Right. Yeah, pretty close.
You and I have hired a percentage of them and paid good money. And at the end of the day, it doesn't provide the results because the reality of it is, you're the reality, Joey, is you tell people like it is. I know we've had this conversation where you get somebody on and one of your questions is, are you willing to take 6 months before this thing actually takes hold? And if they're like, no, I got to do this in 30 days, you're like, well, that's not going to work. It's not me. Are there anomalies? Sure. And unfortunately, those are the ads you see.
Right. That's what you see a lot of. Right. But it's, yeah.
I made all this money and I have a boat full of booty for women. Learn to be funny in your spare time. And, that was
Dude, it's hilarious. I understand. Like, thank you, by the way, Lori. It's we have a lot of opinionated knowledge, but I think it comes from the heart, from where we're trying to help everybody, and we understand where you are, and it's heartbreaking to me, and I know for you too, Scott. It's like watching somebody go through that struggle and be pulled down all these directions. And I know that the hardest part about all this is believing in the vision and knowing that it's going to that the reward is in the future and it's not now. And it's so hard for us to not see the immediate rewards, like the return on ad spend. I put in $1, I'm getting $2 out today. Well, that doesn't happen in normal business, right? And I think that one of the things I wanted to say is, going back to what you said, is like what you would do. Like if you're really stressed for money or whatever that is, and you've decided to play the long game and you're like, you know what, but I need money. Well, then, whatever it is for you to go get that money, that other money, is the thing you may not want to do. For us, maybe we have a little bit of an advantage because, hey, I can still go write copy, or we can build a funnel for somebody or whatever, and trade our time for money to get that money in. So we're a little bit more blessed that way. However, I want to really point something out here, that for people who don't have that, or they can't just turn on a skill or something, or like, yeah, well, I don't have, whatever it is, it's about doing going back to a job or something like that, or getting a part-time job. I know some of our tribe members have done that. And like, I had to go and work for like 6 months
Yeah.
and just to do that. And that to me is like honorable. Like I honor those people who do that. And it's amazing that they do that. And for me, and this is not any financial advice whatsoever because I'm the worst to listen to,
Yeah.
but you know me, like the last thing in the world that I want to do is go get a job. Like that for me, I will do anything in my power not to go do that. Not to say that it's the wrong thing to do. What I'm telling you what I'm about to tell you is probably the wrong thing to do, but I'm just saying that it parallels to playing the wrong game, the long game, not the wrong game, the long game, right? So when I am stressed for that money or something, what do? I go and I take a line of credit on my house. I borrow money. I get things in because the last thing I want to do is go get another job, but I'm still playing the long game, right? I'm still taking on that money. Now that's not advice. Please don't take that as advice. I'm just trying to point out that every one of us is different in terms of what we're willing to do to play the long game.
Okay, Joey, I'm going to repeat that. What are you willing to do to play the long game? Because the freedom of this game is a long game. It's not the short game. And are you willing to do whatever it takes? And whatever it takes is, I don't own a TV. I don't play on social media other than in communicating with people that I play with and that I care about. And I use the word play instead of work. And what's important is, like, I had a conversation normally I would play hard for 3 or 4 months and then mess around for a while. I've been at this for a year nonstop. Why? Because this is the long game. When you start playing it like that, and it is a game, but you got to play the game.
It's like a chess game, bro.
Well, it is. There's no doubt about it. You're not going to get to checkmate by the first move.
Right.
You have to plot and plan and figure out what's the next move and the next move. And then sometimes they take your queen and you're like, holy crap, what do I do? Well, you might end up with your knight ends up with checkmate. And you got to do what it takes to
I know you've done what it takes for this business.
Kevin Hogan is a gentleman, and he had a program called Wealth Accumulation System. And in it, he talks just about what we're talking about, is when you're building a business, especially an online business. And think about if we were like, okay, Joey, let's go open a bookstore, or let's go open a microphone store, or whatever store. We'd have to spend so much money and time. I've opened restaurants. I've designed and built my own from the ground up. I know how long it takes to take a shell and then hire people to dig up the concrete and put in the grease traps and the plumbing and the phone lines and the walls and the electrical, and then bring in the equipment and then bring in this and build this and that and that and that and that and that and that. And not only the time, but the money, hundreds of thousands of dollars before you even contemplate bringing in the first penny. And then it takes 12 to 18 months to lose money before you even make it. You're looking at a year and a half to 2 years before you make any money. And with this, we're talking about only 6 months.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at it in perspective, and what do you got out? Hard work. This stuff takes work. Sometimes you and I are at this thing all the time.
Yeah.
Why? A, we love it. B, we love serving. C, we have a passion for what we do. We want to be the best at it. And there's an economic engine. That's from Good to Great, Jim Collins, the Venn diagram thingy. And what I've seen you do so wonderfully, which is another great model, is you do it. You show up. You show up. What do they say? 90% of success is showing up.
You're just showing up, yeah.
You and I have shown up for whatever it is, a year straight, nonstop, no matter what.
Right.
And people come to say, oh, Tuesday nights, they're going to be here. I could ask any question, I'll get an answer.
Well, look at look at the tribe and the love we have here. Like Petra, sitting at the same table as you both. Monica Murphy, you're asking for the number or the what the word is. But these are, we love you all. New tribe members watching, the people who've been here since day number one, and people who come here. I know that I saw another post here or another comment from Lori, I think, who said, yeah, right here. She's putting our sessions on repeat in the calendar, repeat forever. Like that to me is so awesome, and I love you for that. So thank you for that. And that means like it's a consistency that they know that we're showing up and we're giving value, and that is what it's all about. It's about the long game, right? What does Susan say here? Uncle Joey, I know this is a long game, but even knowing that logically there are days when I think I'm never going to get successful. Yep, I do better at dealing with that. You're going to have those days for sure. What are the best ways to deal with the long game when you're so doubtful at times? Yeah, that's a really good question. One of the things that I wanted to mention here is advice that I got. I don't know, it had to be a couple of years ago. And it was permission, really, from my coach that said, it's okay to mope. Like, you have permission to mope, right? And that word was very specific. This is why I want to repeat it, because sometimes we gotta, we might think as entrepreneurs that we need to put that strong face on, or that mask, or whatever, that shell of armor, that we are invincible. And that's the way I was always approaching it. And when I was given the permission to mope, it was like, okay, you know what? This kind of sucks. And that's how I deal with it, Susan, because naturally, and I don't know if this is you, and I don't know what Scott's going to say, but naturally, I think as entrepreneurs, the only way we feel great is when we're in momentum, is when we're moving forward, when we're going towards something. And yes, we hit a wall, and it wipes us out sometimes. And that's why the permission of being able to mope, to like just go down and go, I suck, or whatever it is, like this sucks, or I'm no good, or whatever it is that you want to do. And you do that for a day or two, whatever, you will eventually get so mad at yourself because you're like, this is not who I am. And you stand up and you just go, well, I don't want to feel that way anymore, and I'm going to press forward. Your thoughts on that, Scott? What do you think?
I don't go there. I did many, 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 many years ago. I don't have enough time for that. That's just me. To me, if I get to that point, it's, you know what? I know how to do this stuff. I got this stuff. And I go do something. I don't care if it's something little, if it's going and making a video, if it's writing an article, or I just make a video for the fun of it, or I get on the phone with somebody. I do something that brings me joy, that serves others, that if just at the end of the day, I was able to improve the quality of somebody's life by just getting on a call with someone, by writing an email, by saying something nice to somebody, that to me brings me out of where I could be going. And I think it's important I know that a lot of us have our goals and what our programs are and our product and our courses and whatever they are. And sure, we all want to move from a one-to-one to a one-to-many. And we want to do something once and then reap the benefits over time. Well, like you said, Joey, you and I have like, okay, so I'll go coach somebody for a couple of months, or I'll go do other things so that I can get back to doing what I'm doing. What is it that you love doing more than anything that you do it for free? And for me, the answer to that question is I so love speaking about what I love speaking about, which is spirituality, marketing, copy, funnels, video, whatever, anything related to that. I love doing it so much, I'll do it for free.
Right.
So when you get in that point, figure out where can you go do what it is you love to do and to help somebody with nothing in return for just that joy of heart-centeredness that says, I did something awesome today. Maybe I feel like crap and I think I'm worthless and nothing's working, but I'm going to call so and so and see how I can help them.
That's a good point. I've never looked at it from that point of view. It's not like, I get into these moods very often, but I allow I allow myself to go in, to just be a human being. That's the way I look at it. It's like I can't control my emotion. I don't want to, you know, what I used to do is avoid the emotion. That's what I used to do. And put on a big face or whatever it is. And now I don't. And so, and I've always been a person who wears his heart on his sleeve, right? But there would also be the point where, okay, I really can't show this piece. Now it's like, like if I'm in a bad mood, I'm in a bad mood. If it's like whatever, it's all there. Like there's no veil, right? And so if I can do that with my clients or with the public or whatever, then I had to allow myself to do the same thing for me to release it.
Yeah, another answer to that, Joey, is I know that you and I can call one another up at any time. And I can say, bro, I'm frustrated right now. And here's why. And that's
true.
That's why I have a board of advisors. And there has to be somebody that you can get on the phone with and say, I suck. I feel worthless. I don't think this is ever going to work.
That's huge.
This, no matter what I'm doing. And just getting that out there, that it gets it out there. Because emotions, there's a difference between emotions and feelings. And now I'm getting into a whole different realm here. An emotion is something that happens to us based on a situation. We have no control of the emotion. What happens?
Okay, go ahead.
A situation happens which causes a physiological reaction, which is an emotion. Then our minds start to create feelings around that, which is how we interpret what just happened.
Okay, all right.
If we keep it in here, it goes into crazy mode because it plays tapes that we've heard for many years.
Well, true. And I really want to stress the point that you're right. Like having that outlet, that camaraderie. This is a whole other topic again, but it's so important. But that camaraderie, the colleagues, the people who support you, that is so important. And going even right back to the Facebook group, at least mine. How many times now have people been in there that said they feel safe inside the group, right? To say things or whatever. And that is again creating that community, creating that tribe where, because we're, entrepreneurs, we are the minority. Like there's not a lot of us out there and don't think that way, or we can't talk to like our family or something. They don't get it. Right. But when you create that community, and even like you said, where you can get on the call, I'll call you up and say, hey bro, listen, I got to just chat for 20 minutes. I got to vent or whatever it is. It's good. Or we get on the call every single week, not these calls alone, but on private calls of masterminds with the group that we can just say whatever we want. There's no judgment. There's no nothing. You can get mad at each other or whatever, and nobody takes offense. And all these little things are so important to building the business. And that is what I learned, when I first started coaching a decade ago, when I went into my own mastermind, a paid mastermind, knowing that environment was like that. And here's the funny thing, that mastermind it cost me 20 grand at the time, which I didn't have. And I took the line of credit from my house. And I'll never forget that half the people that were in, actually more than half, let's say half the people that were in that mastermind, I already knew who they were. They were friends, right? We were friends. And I remember showing up to for the first mastermind. And one of the dudes says, hey, I heard you just joined the mastermind. I'm like, yeah. He puts his arm around me. He goes, okay, so now we want to let you in on some stuff, right? It was like a new family. It was like a new level of family. And I'm like, wow, this is like really, really weird. And I never experienced that. And from that point, I knew there was another level of security and support that I wanted to create way back in 2012. I think it was when I went there. So that moment was what I kind of have now today. Take you all of these years. I don't want to scare anybody. Say, holy crap, it took you that long. That's because I'm stubborn and I didn't listen to anybody along the way, right?
Talking about masterminds, when I first found out about Kajabi, yeah, communal safety is priceless. Monica, somebody in one of my groups, somebody posted looking for help on something. I responded, a few other people responded, and somebody responded with a GIF that said, Google it, honey, or something like that. And I deleted it immediately and said, this is against the rules of being kind and supportive and caring to other people. So, there was no reason that this guy needed to make that comment, none whatsoever, because she was like, I did Google it, but I didn't find what I needed, what I was looking for. And that's what a group is for. And we protect people in our group.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I take people out of my group if somebody says or does something that, it's like, you know what? My group out. Oh, you got the software? Here's your money back. Goodbye. Go. I'm sorry. This is not yours. You don't own it. And even some of the people that are, high up in that, when they do things, I'm like, no, you don't do that. And so Mastermind, when I first got involved with Kajabi, I didn't have a clue how to do anything. And in the Kajabi group, someone was like, hey, we're forming a Kajabi, thingy in the UK and this. And I'm like, hey, I'm on the East Coast. Who wants in? Got 8 people into a mastermind. We met almost every Tuesday. And I developed some fantastic relationships and friendships. And there was one guy in there who taught me how to use Kajabi. And from there, I started meeting other people. And then I started hiring people and learned it better and better and better. And still have, then I was able to help people with this. One guy, I was like, you know what? You need to write a book. He wrote a book and now it's a bestseller and this and that. And only because we had this relationship. So, Susan, I think it's really important. And Joey said, this is a lonely world we exist in.
It is,
people outside of that door, like walk by the window into the yoga studio. And they're like, what's he doing in there? And I'll have my blue curtains down when I'm recording, or people be like, what goes on in there? And then occasionally people come in there and they'll be like, God, what's he got here? This command center. But they still have no idea what on any given moment that we could be interacting with people anywhere in the world. So it's really important for the long game. This is important for the long game, Joey. To have a group of people that support you unconditionally.
Of course, I couldn't agree more. And before we move on, keep on this topic, I wanted to answer this question. I don't know who this is from, but this is a technical question. Really simple. What I've got is a simple webcam. I'm using a Logitech C920. Believe it or not. Thank you for the great. I'm not doing anything special. I'm going through StreamYard. I got lucky. Maybe the lighting is good, but nothing fancy. So
Unreal camera quality, Joey. What are you using? Joey, you probably could use a course to help you do this and that.
Lowe's make you appreciate the highs. He's like, whoever that is. Thank you.
Lows make you appreciate the highs. If you haven't been at the lowest of lows, then no, you can't appreciate what it's like. If you haven't been broke and destitute and struggling and clawing your way in debt and can't pay the bills and don't know where your next dime is coming from, then you can't really appreciate what it's like to have, the American Express Black Card and be able to walk in anywhere, go anywhere, do anything, buy anything. It's, if you haven't had your heart broken, you don't know what it's like to be in love.
Shireen, hey, good.
Hello, Shireen.
Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, if you click on the link above this post thingy, it will give us permission to see your name, so we can at least give you some props on the air.
I have a board of advisors. You know that.
Yes.
They know me better than I know myself. and they've been with me for years. So there are times when I've over the years called and said, holy crap, I got money. I got no money. I got bills coming due like in 2 days. I don't know what I'm going to do. And they go, okay, Scott, let's review. You've said this before. And what we know about you is you have an ability to make money and you always make and figure things out no matter what. So have faith.
Right. That's
Faith,
the hardest one, man. Is
it,
belief and faith, right? Is like,
well, we have to have faith and believe because that's why we need a strong group of people.
well, bro, like you know me, like if there was one thing, and I talk about this all the time, that everything comes down to that. Everything comes down to belief. Whether you whatever you want to call it, belief, faith, confidence, it's all about that. If you don't have that, it does not matter what you're singing in your lips. It does not matter. And I've seen this over and over and over again. When I started coaching, I knew immediately the people that were going to be successful and not successful based on their belief, because I could sense their belief and non-belief. And I've always, that's been a gift. I'm blessed with having that belief. And sometimes it's gotten to me into some serious trouble because I just whatever. But at the same time, I don't need the plan. I don't need the list. I don't need anything. All I need is a vision and the belief that I could do it. And I remember, starting both of my businesses, when I first started, I remember my dad, man, like he's like, how are you ever going to do that? And the answer was, I have no idea.
You don't necessarily.
I have no idea.
You don't necessarily have to know. The other piece, Joey, about Kevin Hogan's wealth accumulation system that became vitally important to me is the people that you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
If you have a vision, you got to be careful with your vision, because if you go out and say to somebody, I had a gal I was helping out she wasn't happy with what she was doing and wanted to find her superpower and this and that, and whiteboarded this and that. And then I said, well, okay, well, how much money do you think you would want? And she said, oh, it's got to be a 17 in it. And so we had a number, and she was very uncomfortable with saying the number. And then eventually I had her write it with green on the whiteboard. And then I said, are you sure about that? And, she first had like 170,000. And I was like, you sure about that? She added a zero to it. And it was like 1,000,007. I go, you sure? Then she made, 17 million. And then she put a one at the front of it and said $117 million. I said, great, you build a company worth $170 million. Is there any reason why you can't? She goes, no. I said, now, be real careful, because if you go out and start telling people that, what are they going to say to you? You're nuts. You're crazy. Who do you think you are? And you need to have people in your life that it doesn't matter what you say.
Well, yeah, and that's a really big point, because in our community, even when we go to certain events or whatever, it's weird, because I don't know how you feel, but for the longest time, I know that we are the minority. There's a small group of entrepreneurs. However, because of what you just said, that my life is surrounded by people like us, I know no other, like, it's weird. Like, the normal world is weird to me. The normal world, which is 80% or 90%. Okay. When I hear somebody talk like whatever, normal, however you want to describe that, I think they're weird. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Meanwhile, it's the total reverse, because we are surrounded every single day and we eliminate all the distractions, right? That we can't stand up on a chair and say, I'm going to make $1 million tomorrow.
Right.
Right. And nobody looks at us and goes, yeah, okay, dude, you keep smoking whatever it is you're smoking.
Yeah, the average person is working a job, this and that and that and this, and they can't comprehend it. They think it's just way too out there, when we know the reality of we get something going and it goes right and it engages in that, it's scaling it. If you're working a 40-hour-a-week job, you can't scale that.
Right. Right.
Saying
Thank you, Monica, by the way.
Working a job.
This comes back to the whole thing that we're talking about, which is the long game, which is like when you stand up and say, I'm going to make $1 million tomorrow, right? And the tribe behind you goes, let's go for it. And then tomorrow doesn't happen. You know, you don't have this outside world going, see, told you you're an idiot. You didn't make it, right? Yeah. And you don't have that. It's like, well, that Facebook ad didn't work, or that launch didn't work, or whatever it is, right? And it's like, just keep going. But
that didn't work because the next one's going to work, and that one did. Again, we could bring up, Colonel Sanders had 80 failures before Kentucky Fried Chicken.
That's
Grandma
right.
Moses didn't start eating until she was 80 years old. You just, there's so many examples of Chicken Soup for the Soul, Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield. I think that they were rejected by something like 22 publishers.
Well, J.K. Rowling is a great example of this. Right?
The list goes on of people that did not succumb to and believe in the messages that the world is conditioned to believe in. Again, speaking, when you are a child and you go to school, you're told, look, don't raise your hand and say anything silly because everybody will laugh at you. So what happens is you raise your hand and you ask a question, and everybody laughs at you because that's what kids do. So what happens? You don't ask questions anymore and you shrink into your shell. And as you grow, you don't have the confidence to go out and share your superpowers, who you are, because it's been so hammered down into it.
And I want to come back to that for a second, because what you just said is really important. I'm hoping everybody heard what he just said. First, I want to give props to Monica. I know, let me give back that you haven't fit into the normal world. Congratulations. That is so powerful. And I'm happy that you're at least saying that out loud, and that's cool. And you're normal. You're normal. This is normal for us. This is what we're all about. And thank you for the details here, Lorna, about the 144 publishers. 144. That's like, holy mackerel. I didn't know that. 2 years. Look at this. They worked out of a basement. Thank you for that information.
So, Joey, just one more here real quick. I watched a documentary, so I know it's real. And Steve Jobs was in an auditorium, and he showed the first version of the computer. Bill Gates, with his glasses and a pocket protector, was interviewed, and he said, there's nothing anybody could do. It's over. It's done. They've got it, and we're finished. Well, obviously, he did not take that. And we could come up with thousands of examples, and we just need to look at them as, faith. And one of my favorite movies is Shawshank Redemption. Have you seen it?
No.
It's all about hope. It's about faith. It's about believing in. And the long game is that.
Yeah, it's true. Like, so it's true. You are normal. We are normal. Here's the thing. If you don't believe this, you need to believe this right now. Not you, Monica, but anybody listening to this, that entrepreneurs, we are the change makers of the world. We are the people who move the world forward. And the only reason is because most entrepreneurs believe. We are looked at as these people like, you're insane. What are you talking about? A little box that's going to sit on a desk, that's going to replace the typewriter, that's going to connect to people all over the world, that you don't need a phone anymore, and all this. What are you talking about? What's this internet thingy? Or when all these idealistic things that people cannot see in the future, right? And entrepreneurs sit at home and, well, this is what's going to happen. Here's what I'm going to create, So if you're ever doubting yourself, because we're talking sometimes a little bit about doubt here, you are the change makers. That's why they call them change makers. So that's why the long game is so important, because eventually you will change your corner of the world if you just continue to believe. Fantastic movie, greatest movie of all time. Looks like I got to see it. Thanks for giving us the props there. There he is. Shireen is in the house. Thanks for giving us permission to broadcast your name. One thing I wanted to, this goes right back to what you were saying about what you're willing to do, right? And I wanted to bring this up. What are you willing to do to move the business forward? What are you willing to do to play the long game? And I may have mentioned it before that John Assaraf, who's from The Secret, was in my first mastermind. I was very blessed to work with him. And it was funny because when I started changing my mindset back in 2007, his was the first course that I bought, right? We called Having It All. And it was like, all right, well, if all this stuff hasn't worked up to now about this mindset thingy, then I'm going to try this thing. And I focused on that, and it changed my world. And lo and behold, 4 years later, call it manifesting or whatever you want to call it, this dude is now in my mastermind, and I'm sitting shoulder to shoulder with him. And I still got, I mean, all my, books back there. Part of them are the journals and everything I took from all these masterminds, right? Sitting in there. And I remember him saying, and this is famous, a lot of people who know John will recognize this, but he says, are you willing to, how does he say it? Willing to commit? Are you willing to commit to what is necessary? Or are you only willing to do what's convenient? Something like that. Are you willing to do anything that it takes, right? Or are you willing only to do what's convenient? And most people are only willing to do what's convenient. As soon as the pressure hits or they hit the dip or whatever we're talking about, they bail. And that means that they don't believe. They don't believe in themselves. You with me, or are you on a squirrel moment?
I'm listening to you.
Yeah. Or you're interested. Are you interested? Are you committed, or are you just interested in whatever it is?
Okay, Joey, we've once again hit the top of the hour.
All right. Well, you can go. I'm going to continue talking to my peeps here because we got a really great thing going on here. I'm only kidding. My man, thank you so much. 8:36. We're going past the hour, the top of the hour, as always. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for the new people showing up. Great to have you. Anybody watching on the replay, thank you so much. If you have a comment, question, whatever it is, pop it into the comments, because we always look back at these and try to answer everything. Thank you so much. Monica, Lorna, everybody's here. Shireen, thank you. Who else was here? Petra, did I miss anybody? Susan, who else was here? Lori. I'm scrolling back up. I think that I got everybody. If I missed your name, I apologize. And whoever didn't comment, I don't know who was here, but thank you for being here. Scott, thank you. Have yourself an awesome night.